So I just want to have 3 different cheeses just to show you what works and what doesn't. So of course I've got the classic brie, and then I got a standard goat cheese, which I thought would be good and tangy. And then I wanted something salty, and I had a pecorino romano. I just happen to have a brick of it in my...
As you do.
As I do. That's all. My fridge is pretty much, there's not much else but cheese, but that's kind of where we are right now.
Yeah.
But I did make one thing by myself. So I made, this is a salmon rillette. It's super easy. It's like poached salmon and creme fraiche and butter, and it's not good for you, but it'll be really good with the balls. And then I just wanted some dried fruits and fresh fruits, and then of course just baguette that you can either use for a palate cleanser or use as a base for any of the others. And then I found, this is like a little blueberry jam. I thought in case you wanted to put something with like brie or something like that to see if there's a difference. You always need something deep fried. It always goes best, right, with bubbly. So I thought plain old salted potato chips are good. No need to do those baked ones, not for this.
No, deep fried all the way.
No. And then, and then I wanted to do, because the last one is going to be a little bit different than you're probably used to, because you haven't come to one of my sparkling wine classes.
Not your sparkling class,
Then you haven't had this one yet.
Oh, I'm excited.
Okay. You're very excited. So it usually goes really well with like a dessert course. So that's why I have the 2 different kinds of chocolate between that and the berries. That should give you a good idea of what it's going to be like.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, so munch away. Okay.
Right.
So as I'm talking to you, I'll talk to them at the same time, and I'll pour.
Deal.
So the first one, for everybody at home, hi. So my drinking buddy from the last time I was drinking on the live tape, she happily agreed. And the funny thing is, we were laughing about it. Maybe it's because I'm the only one of the few friends that we have that's an empty nester.
Yeah.
So most of our friends have kids, and you would think that you'd get a lot of, oh my God, I'm right over, and yes, I'll be, I'll happily come over right now, and we even gave them like a yesterday notice and everything else. So
who doesn't want to come and drink sparkling wine with friends?
I know.
Seriously, we need new friends.
It's only a Thursday.
Oh, there's that.
It's only a Thursday. Anyways, it's one of those things that I barely hit send for the Facebook message, and she was replying, fly.
Any excuse to have wine and treats with a friend is just fine by me.
Yeah. So I don't want to over pour too much to start off with.
Yeah.
We do have 4 wines to get through, and then once we turn the camera off later, if we want to catch up,
if we want to catch up on a few others,
the little unedited after party, then we can finish up some of our favorites later. Okay, so this first one actually is one of the sparkling wines that I found when I was in Prince Edward County when I went with my. So it's in the episode. I actually was raving about this wine. I didn't do a lot of it in the show. But at the end of it, when we were kind of doing our highs and lows, we were talking about how much we really love the sparklings. And this is from Rose Hall Rum.
Okay.
So this one's called Ceremony. So I thought, Ceremony, it sounds very proper, and considering you just came back from, assuming, a wedding meeting?
From a wedding meeting.
Mm-hmm. I just loved this one. Nice, eh?
Yeah.
It's
got a little bit of sweetness, but also a little bit of tart too. Like it's not too either way.
No, I think the way we kind of described it is that it had that fruitiness up front, but then it finishes more on the drier side. Yeah. Nice, eh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I fell in love with it the first time I had it too. Of course, I did have it at 10 o'clock in the morning last time.
Mimosas. Oh wait, mimosas without juice?
Yeah, we just went, they don't do mimosas. We were at the winery itself, so we were just drinking.
I feel like champagne is your one excuse to drink in the morning.
It should be. That's a morning wine.
It is.
Actually, do you know how many places I've traveled and all the winemakers are now describing certain wines they're making as breakfast wines? Like they'll say, oh, this is a breakfast wine. Oh, this is a breakfast wine. Oh, this is a breakfast wine.
I could get behind that.
I can breakfast wines. So a couple of things I just want to sort of tell the story while you're munching.
What should I be playing with as I taste this?
I don't know. Like I said, that's the whole thing. I want you to kind of experiment, and we'll sort of experiment as we go. That, okay, well, I think this will go well with this, and no, I think I like it better with this. I mean, potato chips always work. Bread always works. I was going
to go straight to the potato chips first.
Well,
because that is one of my favorite pairings is sparkling wine and potato chips. You know, you get a little bit of class and a little bit of your down home.
And, it's economic. So if you have no money left after you bought the really expensive bottle,
go get a bag of chips.
Go get a bag of chips. Here we are preaching high cuisine. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of the history behind it, and one of the reasons besides just loving the flavor that I loved sparkling wines, but champagne in particular, I read a book, I think it's when I first really dove into really educating myself on wine, and it was just around the time I was going to the Champagne region. We were thinking about it. It wasn't in part of our plans, and we ended up going anyways. And it was The book is called The Widow Clicquot. So it is actually the life story of the woman behind Veuve Clicquot. Yeah, because Veuve actually means widow, right? But when you read the whole story, the amount of influence that she had on the industry back then, and she was essentially a widow taking over her husband's part of the business, and she was one of the pioneers of most of the women who were basically working in the back. The men had the prestigious jobs of doing the sales and the traveling. The women were the ones at home making the actual cuvee blends. They were the ones actually, taste testing everything and doing the actual wine production process.
I need to read that book. That is fascinating.
So I do have the link on the show notes, of course. Okay. But it was one of those books that I started realizing, like, it's a romantic story, and it really shows that women have basically kind of held up that part of the industry for all those years. And so I'm always excited now when I start seeing women coming back into being actual winemakings and going back into the industry. So it's like coming full circle. I do know that when we were in Champagne, some of our most favorite ones were from the smaller houses. Mm-hmm. So the ones that don't export because they only make certain quantities. Yeah. And you see the price points of these smaller families and what they're producing and the quality of stuff they're producing. And it was right on par with the big houses. But you go into, and use Moët Chandon as an example, I mean, they're doing these guided tours of groups going through their building, and as we're walking through cellars, like projected on the screen is Scarlett Johansson doing the voiceover, right? The amount of money that's the marketing is what you're paying for. And Veuve Clicquot does the same thing. I mean, even though they have a really quality product, I mean, they all do. But some of that price point is unfortunately.
It's definitely going to be.
Well, that's part of it, all of wine industry, but really the champagne is a big one.
And that's why people know the names Veuve Clicquot, the Moët Chandon, the Dom Perignon, because those are the ones that are marketed the most, the ones that are out there in the market for people to see, and they're positioned as high-end wines as well too.
Correct.
But you can also find some really great bottles for $30 to $40 as well that are just nice as well.
Correct. So that's why I think that if you don't have to, I mean, some of those bigger ones are great for special occasions, right? You just got that big job promotion and you want to be the baller in the bar, right? Go and order the big bottle. Something like that you're basically proud of, and this is not something you're going to do every day. But if you're just a true sparkling wine lover, there's such a variety. So that's why I 4 that I picked out today, none of them are champagne, because you can get champagne in town.
Yeah, I agree.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the traditional method. So there's different ways of making sparkling wine. I'm trying to think, I'm going to switch it up for our next one. Sorry, I'm going off screen here because I've got the wine down below. I want to switch it up and go dry to sweet kind of thing, so we get a bit of a balance. Traditional method. So there's different ways of doing it. As most people who enjoy sparkling wine, or a lot of people know or should know, that champagne is only champagne if it comes from the Champagne region of France. Anything from France outside of Champagne is usually called a créma if it's done in the same style. And then outside of that, each country has their own different ways of making it, different grapes, etc. But if the process is the same, a lot of them usually have, this is not a good example, have on their bottle traditional method, champagne method, either in English or in French. Okay. But basically it's referring to the same process.
Okay.
So I'm going to use once I pour this next one, I'm going to use an empty bottle that I know that's actually empty. Just so I can show physically visual the process, as opposed to me getting wine all over my hardwood would not be the first time though. I did want to, because you can see this a little bit in the video, as opposed to me going close up, talking a little bit about the opening and closing. So there's a cage that's on this, and I'll go a little bit more into the process part of it in a second. But essentially when you're opening it, as much as everyone thinks that this is an old bottle. I found this
watching it move.
I found this in Nicaragua.
Because that's the first place you think of when you think of sparkling wine is Nicaragua.
I know, I'm so excited.
That's amazing.
I find a liquor store in Nicaragua and I'm like, ooh, there's a demi-sec. Oh. So this has traveled ways, and I've been keeping it downstairs because I can't legally resell it or use it for any of my classes, but I can have it here. Yay! So I was just waiting for the opportunity, so I'm excited about this. Because I have no idea how it's going to be.
Have you ever tasted a Nicaraguan demi-sec before?
It's not from Nicaragua, it's from Chile. So it's a Chilean demi-sec that I found in a Nicaraguan wine store. Don't you shop like that? No?
All the time, because I go to Nicaragua every time I need wine.
Just gotta go far past the checkpoint. I I laugh about it, but I have pictures I haven't shown yet. But I remember going over the border and we're seeing all the guards with the guns and full gear on when they're waiting for you and inspecting ID on the way in. It's a little nerve wracking.
With your Nicaraguan or your Chilean wine.
With my little bottle. Don't take my bottle.
Take him.
No, I wouldn't take him. So I'm excited about this. Just because I was itching
To try it.
Yeah. So demi-sec means, I keep going back in topics, but demi-sec basically means half dry, of course, if you translate it. So it's going to be a little bit on the sweeter side. This might be good with one of the creamier cheeses to sort of balance it out a little bit.
That last, the one we just
Yeah,
had,
the ceremony?
was really, really good with the goat cheese.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that fruitiness probably really went well, right? So the this demi-sec, I'm assuming because it's a little bit, I want to taste it on its own first.
It smells sweeter.
All those nice pauses on the... At the beginning, I was like, "Oh, that's not bad."
No, that's not good.
Oh my god! God, I love live taping. And here it was
What can we taste to make it better?
You know what? Did you notice that there's like almost no bubbles in it?
And it's orange.
No, but there's no bubbles.
I got bubbles.
Oh, I don't have as many. And I poured mine second. You got all the bubbles in the
And they were all in the first glass.
Oh, crap. Okay, just leave it. Go get me the two other glasses. We're going to go on. We're going to have some more ceremony just to rinse that out. You notice? I just had to stop and pause. What was that?
So no Chilean demi-sec from Nicaragua.
No,
Not a
it's
good
probably
purchase.
because I mean I looked
Been
up
there
the
for a while.
wine.
You said though too. You said you've had it
No,
for a
I've
bit.
had it for about 2 years in my
Oh.
cellar, but it all depends on. We don't know like how it got there. Right? You get to these wine stores.
I like how she says that after
However,
I
I've
tasted it.
had some really great success over the years, not necessarily with that one, obviously, but I bought a 1970 Rioja, Gran Reserva, in a little wine store in Spain, and the wine store owner didn't even know if it was going to be any good. So I gambled because it was my birth year.
Isn't that? I feel like I had that with you.
Yeah, weren't you here for that big thing when I opened it? It was spectacular.
It was so good.
It was so good. So I have had some success with being
No, that one was amazing.
experimenting. It's like you can't always do it. Okay. Let's cleanse our palate with a good Ontario wine. Oh my god, that was good for a giggle. Okay.
That was funny.
So I'm going to talk about the traditional method while I'm doing that. Oh, I want to have some of that salmon rillette, actually. This will be good with this. Did you try it with the salmon?
Not yet, but I'm gonna do that after I
Okay.
take this brie in with them.
It's so funny. Here I am going to put... So I'm not putting the Chilean one on the show notes, obviously. Okay. Are you okay with the fork? Do you need a little knife or something? Because there's some in the bag over there.
I'm fine.
Okay. I'm trying not to eat because I'm talking so much. So, traditional method. So essentially, the whole process of sparkling wine, as much as people think that they pump carbonated water or carbonation into wine to make it bubble, they only do that at those make your own wine places.
Mm-hmm.
I know that because I've had sparkling wine I had to make for long of it many years ago, and they have a special carbonation machine they use for that. But that's not how it's traditionally done.
No, isn't it naturally occurring?
Yes, so it's naturally occurring. It's a second fermentation that usually happens.
Okay.
So the first time when wine is made, there's a natural fermentation process where they add anything extra to it to coax it along. After that's finished, and the first winemaking's done, most sparkling wines, there are some that are single grape varietals.
Mm-hmm.
So all white grape or usually all Chardonnay, like in Champagne would be a Blanc de Blanc. If you're using red grapes without the skins, regardless of whether the skins are in it or not, it's still called a Blanc de Noir because it's using the dark grapes. But the usually they make a blend. The winemaker does it. So in Champagne, of course, they're using 3 grapes. But it's basically the winemaker decides what kind of blend they want it to finish like, and they work backwards from that to get the start.
Oh my.
So they actually have these wines in barrels of all different kinds, and they kind of pull and mix them together, which is one of the reasons that it's very rare to find a Champagne that has a year on it, meaning it's a vintage wine. It's because sometimes they're pulling
Stuff from
a
like 2 years ago,
Chardonnay from this year. Well, I think that's going to be really good with the Pinot Noir from this year,
Wow.
and then a Pinot. So it's usually a blend. So only when it's a spectacular year with the grapes from that particular year will a wine producer create a vintage wine with that year on the bottle. It's one of those things when you take a look at it, it's not easy to find a vintage, especially here in Northern Ontario.
Well, definitely not at the LCBO. I don't think I've ever, I mean, I'll often look at the vintage section for a red,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think I've ever looked for a sparkling.
Mm. So you're going to go look for it and see if you
No,
can
I'm
find
going
it
to
here.
go look and see if I can find one.
So that's the whole idea of the vintage. So they make this little blend. And then once they have the blend, then they put it in bottles. So they put it in the big heavy duty champagne bottles because it needs heavier glass to support the pressure that's going to build up.
Right, of course.
So when they always put a little bit of yeast and a little bit of sugar to feed the yeast, just like when you're making bread, like I did the other day. So you're putting that in and that basically starts the process. And as the yeast is eating the sugar, it's kind of having excess.
I'm like, so basically, wait. So what you're saying is all these really fancy, wonderful, sparkling. I'm basically
yeasty flavors.
I'm basically drinking yeast farts.
Yeah, okay, you can put it that way. It's a byproduct. But yes, so part of the same thing. We're talking about our ozones, like cow farts, right?
Course, yeah.
Okay. So they take all that fermentation that's happening in the bottle, and they don't have a regular cork in it yet. So right now they have, it looks like a beer can.
Yeah.
So they put those in, and if you've seen those riddling racks, I'll put a picture on the show notes. But they're those big wooden racks that have the holes in them, and the bottles are kind of steeped down.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to grab the bottle.
The empty bottle.
The empty bottle. It's supposed to be the other one. So they're usually down on an angle like this, right? Yeah. So they have a little cap on it, and they're in that riddling rack. Well, back in the day before machinery came over, some guy's job was to turn the bottles. So all that's doing is all the fermentation and the byproduct, right, that's sort of left in the bottle, the sediment is slowly working its way. It might settle on the bottom here. So you turn it a little half turn, it moves down a little bit more and collects, and then eventually it's all into the neck of the bottle. After it's been sitting for the number of years that the winemaker wants it to be there for, and all the sediment, which is called the lees now, that's in the neck of the bottle here, they need to get that out. But remember, there's still a lot of pressure in here, right? So they actually use a special solution that freezes the lees in the neck of the bottle. So it's kind of like it dunks in. It dunks into this thing, it freezes like that. They pop the cap off, and the lees is a little ice cube. Boop, boop. Yeah, so that's called disgorging. So that actually just shoots it out because of the pressure in the bottle. So then they probably have missed some of the wine in here, so they'll always put back a little bit more wine, and this is where they'll either add a little bit extra sugar. It's rare to see it not any extra sugar to it, usually because they start off with such a tart base. They're usually adding extra sugar, and then depending on what the final product is going to be, like if that demi-sec was any good, they would have had a higher sugar content, right? Especially the sweeter wines. So as they're going along, the winemaker will decide how much sugar to add to it. And then they put the cork, and then they put the cage on top of the cork to hold it in, because the cork itself is not going to hold it in with that much pressure in it. Yeah. And then they'll put the foil and stuff on top of it. And then again, they can still let it sit for a period of time before they decide they're going to be selling it.
It's quite a process.
It is a pretty extensive process. So most wines, anything that you see from any country that says traditional method, classic method, or anything else, that's the process they use. The only ones that don't, one of those ones we're going to have later, and the other one is Prosecco. Prosecco is similar in the fashion that instead of putting the second fermentation, instead of putting it in a bottle right away, they're putting it in a steel tank. So that the fermentation process go there, and it's basically more machinery than otherwise. They actually have a special machine that filters out the sediment as opposed to doing this little disgorging.
It definitely sounds a lot more efficient.
Yes. So, Prosecco is done in large quantities, and that's one of the reasons that it's so economical. Yeah. It's still a great wine. It still tastes good. Yeah, it's still very dry. And
I tend to go for a Prosecco a lot because it seems to be pretty predictable. Like if I'm out and I'm eating at a restaurant, for example, and they've got a Cava and they've got a Prosecco, and I tend to just go for the Prosecco because it tends to be pretty consistent.
Yeah, it does. It's a lighter. It would be like a Pinot Grigio for me, right?
Yeah.
I tend to go towards the Cava for the same reason, that I know what to expect. I just realized I didn't even put my rings back on. I was so busy
naked.
I was too busy doing food prep and I forgot. Well, maybe they'll be related, but they won't be the same thing. So for me, my fly in my soup, which drives me bonkers, I understand people want to celebrate this whole thing of shaking up a bottle and spraying it all over the place. First of all, any female who's ever tried to wash sparkling wine out of their hair understands why it's a bit of a pain in the ass. And it looks cool on camera. So in locker rooms and stuff, they do it in the news, and teams are all getting all excited.
Yeah, who's cleaning that up after?
Who's cleaning it up? I know, he's such a woman.
Like the mom, eh? Who's cleaning up? Don't spray my wine. You're also wasting all my wine.
Yes,
it's all over the floor.
Yes, you're wasting the wine. It gets because of the sugar, natural sugar, it's sticky.
Yeah.
Right. So it gets into everything, and you get clumps on stuff, and anyways, it's just a mess. And I think again, it's a waste, and it's not honoring the beverage.
No, it isn't.
By doing
It's just
that.
a waste. It's a huge
Correct.
waste.
So some people think that it naturally does that anyways, and it
Yeah.
doesn't. So I've just shown a couple times, and before you got here, same thing. I'll do it for the last one. It doesn't.
It doesn't need to.
It doesn't need to go kapow. Okay, your pet. So I haven't eaten yet. So you
my
can do it.
flying in the soup over sparkling it's kind of a twofold. One is servers and not sommeliers, because typically a sommelier would know how to open a bottle of champagne. But definitely servers who have not been taught properly how to open a bottle of sparkling. And I've actually seen servers panic. When I say, can I get a bottle of sparkling? They went, I've actually literally taken it out of a server's hand once, and I've opened it myself because they were panicking because they're expecting this big pop and it to hit a light and whatever else. And I got up and I showed her, I'm like, no, honey, this is how you do it. You hold it at your side a little more, pull away, all those kind of little tips that you have. It doesn't need to explode. So then by the same token is when I'm, either if I'm in my own home and entertaining, although most people who come to my house know that I've been in hospitality for a long time and I've opened many bottles of wine and they trust that I know what I'm doing. But there's almost this chauvinistic thing of men going, oh, sweetie, let me open that for you. And I look at them and I'm like, really? Really? How many bottles of champagne have you had this week? Like that whole, it just blows my mind that it's not as difficult as it looks, and it doesn't have to explode, it doesn't have to do all those things. It's not even a big technique about it. But people go, oh no, let me do that for you. You're gonna hit something on the ceiling. And I just go, no. You're preaching up to the wrong thing. So servers who haven't been trained properly, and I mean, there's enough YouTube videos out there that if they haven't figured it out by now, you can find it. And don't try and take my bottle and open it for me. I got this.
Okay, so you can hear
more. Okay, so this was which
this is the Cava. So this is the Cornu. This is another big brand. You can get this in larger bottles, of course. But so this is just the classic Cava. So Cava is produced. I like to usually welcome people to the Tour of Spain classes with it, because this would be Spain's answer to champagne.
It tends to be drier, does it not?
It's pretty dry. That especially after ceremony one, you'll find it's a big palate cleanser.
Yeah, very much so. That needs a potato chip then. I'm gonna try them all except for Nicaragua.
Try the blackberry.
I'm gonna try it with potato chip.
Okay, we're calling it Nicaragua.
It's Chilean.
It's the Chilean. No, you don't have to become, an extreme expert. My job, I never want to look down on anybody. I've never tried to direct anyone. Well, you have to eat this with this, and you have to have this with this. And I think that my job is basically to provide the information. Here's how things are done. Here's what's traditionally served with. Usually in that particular country where they're producing it, what they're serving it with, they've already figured it out. So just follow along with the locals do, right?
I agree.
It's usually a good thing. And then it's a lot of times any kind of pairing sparkling wine, which I was going to talk about anyways. Pairing sparkling wine would be the same as pairing any wine. You're either trying to compare flavors or textures, or you're trying to contrast them. Yeah. So if you like the flavor, if you want to accentuate the flavor, if you got a really good buttery Chardonnay, like it's heavy in the Chardonnay, like a good Blanc de Blanc or something, then something else that's buttery, it might not necessarily accentuate the butteriness in it, but it might sort of cancel itself out because they're too similar, right? So then what goes with butter? I would do something with potato, or I would do something else that kind of works with that buttery thing.
So something starchy or...
Yeah, like something to sort of,
yeastier.
something to balance it out a little bit. And it's the same thing when I talk about something that's fruity. So a Riesling is one of my favorite ones that I've done in a pairing, and I say, that fruit forward, some people are always concerned that some Rieslings, especially the German ones, tend to be a little sweeter.
Super sweet.
So if you get one of those sweet wines served to you, a la Blue Nun, or what were the other ones? Spumante Bambino.
The Bambino.
Bambino. A friend of mine, I was trying to convince her to come tonight.
Mateus, the pink one.
Oh, that's Portuguese. I like Mateus. Yes, it's been around for a bit. But if you're not fond of those sweeter style wines, having something that's the opposite with it will actually balance it out for the same reason. So I usually always suggest pairing it with something tangy like a goat cheese, and that will balance it out. So the same idea goes for pairing for sparkling wines as well. So I've actually done an entire dinner where every single course was with a different sparkling.
It's really cool because a lot of people, when they think of sparkling, they just think like dessert, or they just think like your pre-dinner drink. They don't think about drinking sparkling with your meal.
Yeah, like oysters, caviar. Oh yeah, show notes are, for those of you who are just listening for the first time, StephaniePichet.ca. This is episode 16, so that's flavor 16, and flavor spelled the Canadian way, FLAVOUR 16.
Episode 16.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it goes fast.
I know, remember I was like, oh my god, I can't do 4. I was just teasing one of my other fellow podcasters. She's also another mom. She was trying to get it here, but had to get her kids to bed. And
Yes.
And as soon as she told me, I gotta get the kids to bed, and I went, yeah, well, sorry, we can't.
Tell her she's missing out.
Oh, she knows. I told her I would do it again another time, but
Yeah.
But it would be fun to have another podcaster here, just who she's used to it. She can give me,
Absolutely.
and then she can give me tips on what I'm doing wrong. But she's been doing it a lot longer than I have.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. Okay, so for this one, Cava is one of those wines that I can just have in the middle of the afternoon. I love Cavas as a base for mimosas.
Yeah.
I like Cavas because they're dry and they're not overpowering. I really love them as a base for sparkling cocktails.
Yeah.
So I didn't, I guess I'm going to put it in the show notes now, but I posted a picture, especially those who follow on Instagram. I did post a picture of my favorite cocktail, which is a French 75.
Yeah.
Which I also had in Nashville. I had
You had a lot of stuff
I had
in
a lot of things in Nashville. But I don't always see it on the menu, and as soon as I see it on the menu, I jump in it. So basically it's gin, fresh lemon juice, and then the sparkling wine on top of it.
Oh.
And it's all your favorite things in a glass.
My favorite things in what?
So now it's like an adult lemonade. So I like the French 75, the classic champagne cocktail is another one. These are all ones that I'm going to put in the list just because I think with the holidays coming, I think it's fun. If you're going to have sparkling wine open, it's not one of the ones that's easiest to recork.
Oh yeah, no.
And if you're just going to have a glass of it, maybe, for a brunch or something like that, later in the afternoon, okay, well, I should use that to set up, but you don't just want to have a glass, you want to have something different. So a pre-dinner cocktail, that's where I would go into a French 75. If you have a good liver for it, the classic champagne cocktail is a little bit more, I was going to say a little more masculine, but you basically take cognac, same thing, but put half an ounce in the bottom, or depending on how you pour. You're also going to put in a sugar cube. So you put a sugar cube in the bottom, and then you put the bitters in to balance it out.
Yes.
So there's a sugar cube, there's the bitters, and then the cognac, and then there's champagne.
That is a very traditionally masculine Jay-Z song or whatever.
Just another Jason. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I know. See, this is why I want to do video. I know. You're welcome.
That is dark.
I know.
Oh, that's exciting.
No, and surprisingly, and this one is surprising to a lot of people, and I don't know if it's just the palates up here in Northern Ontario, but I found there's been a couple times I've done this full sparkling wine class, and this was the favorite of the night.
Well, it's so because even like a sparkling Pinot Noir is typically still really pink.
Correct.
It's not dark. That's
Yes.
exciting.
So any kind of rosés and stuff, they just for those of you out there who think that any kind of pink wines are half white, half red. They're not. They just leave the skins of the grape in long enough so that it gives it just the color of pink that they're looking for. And then Pinot Noir traditionally, also, depending on the color of the grape, sometimes that's where you get more of a blush color than actual pink.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is straight on, full on red grape.
That's cool.
Welcome to Italy, my friend.
Cheers. I like Italy.
Mm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Yes. It's like the best of both worlds.
This
It's
is
red
dessert.
and sparkling together.
And it's chilled, and it's dessert in a glass. Okay, so this is where you get the
Wow,
chocolate and
this
the
is
fruit.
the chocolate one?
Yeah, this is the chocolate and the
Yeah,
fruit.
even just tasting it, like it needs chocolate.
It needs chocolate and fruit.
Yeah.
You could do some cheeses. I would stick to the brie, the very mild brie, mozzarella, bocconcini, that kind of stuff.
Something that's not going to overpower
yeah,
it.
so a burrata,
Mm.
right? Something that's very light,
Yes,
salty,
and almost
creamy.
fluffy.
Yeah, so you got to treat this almost like you would be treating a fruity red wine, so like a Merlot. But so this is the Lambrusco. It is the grape as well as the the style. Italy, they kind of make their wines based on a certain style. So this is Lambrusco is the name of the grape, but it's also the name of the style of the wines. This is also one of the ones that's made like Prosecco. It's done in steel tanks as opposed to the traditional method.
It's got a really full, robust flavor.
Yeah. So it's the fruitiness goes really well with chocolate.
Can't talk. I'm having a moment.
Mm-hmm. So I've paired this. So in my class, I do white chocolate mousse with berries, right? So it's a good mix. I've also done it with just a standard dark chocolate mousse. Most desserts that are very vanilla chocolate, like nothing too crazy, things that go good with berries. So berries, vanilla, chocolate in various combinations is perfect for this.
Red Twizzlers. You ever had like a full-bodied red wine with red Twizzlers?
No.
You need to. Red Twizzlers.
Anyways, you ready to grip on the side of the table? You know why this wine is so excellent too? It's $9.95 a bottle.
Well, how much?
$9.95.
I mean $9.95.
As in $9.95.
Are
As
you
in less than
kidding
$10, lady. Yes.
That's amazing.
And almost every LCBO carries it, and nobody
can you get
and
LCBO?
nobody ever notices it. Because when you go to the sparkling wine section, so this is just in the general listing, you don't go to vintages. It's right where you would get the Proseccos and the Cavas and everything else. And it's always there, but because the bottle is darker.
Put it in the back kind of corner.
You know, it's a darker bottle, and so unless you know what you're looking for, it doesn't show as red. Right? You just see the outside. Where's that bottle?
No, it just looked like a regular bottle of champagne. And it's very unassuming looking.
Because it's a darker bottle, you can't tell
it's red at all.
and because when it's full, you can see a little bit now.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever, and I mean, I'm looking.
Now you're gonna be looking for it. Yeah.
Well, now I'm gonna get it. It's interesting because one of my girlfriends who I invited to come over, one of her things is like, I don't drink sparkling wine. She's a red wine drinker. Well, that's it. Now we're gonna have to try this one. Because
That's right. And this is a fun one to have when you're going for the holidays. You're going to somebody's house. Sometimes people are inviting you over and you're just doing a cake coffee thing, right? It's an evening thing. Everyone's going to walk in with a bottle of wine or something like that. So this would be fun, especially if you're going to have fruit and desserts and stuff like that.
Fruitcake.
Yeah. Oh, fruitcake would be a good one. Oh, speaking of then. So as much as flutes are in fashion now, for many years it was always those.
It was the bowl.
Yeah, so those are called the coupes. So people don't know the history of those. So those were said to, there was rumors, they were designed after Marie Antoinette's breast.
I have heard that.
Like anyone's breasts are ever shaped like that, but you know what I mean. But I guess it was supposed to be someone's ode to her or whatever.
I feel like if your breasts are shaped like that, you should get them checked.
You should get them checked. Because they're, that's...
I'm just kidding.
Everyone's just closing their eyes right now and visualizing it going, yeah, that would be odd. But one of the reasons that as wine became more popular and wine producers were becoming a little bit more insistent on how their wine should be served, stored, etc., glassware became more and more important. So now one of the keys is that if you want to keep the bubbles in and concentrate those aromas in a very small area, that's where the flutes come in.
So I heard that the coupes had the bubbles kind of like dissipate more.
They do.
Whereas the flutes allow them to stay bubbly
Correct.
longer.
But there's been many times where I've been traveling and I've ordered a sparkling wine or we've ordered a bottle and we have standard wine glasses. So you just don't pour as much every time into your glass, right? You're just not going to fill it like you would a flute. So you just do a little bit at a time in a standard glass. It's more common. You rarely see it here in North America, but you do see it overseas quite a bit. You can find at some specialty stores special stoppers for it. If you've opened it properly, meaning you've used that method I mentioned too, where you're holding on to the cork, and you're being very slow about it and deliberate, and you actually should be really turning the bottle, not the cork. So you hold the cork, turn the bottle if you can. A lot of times if it's really wet, you almost need 2 towels or whatever. But this way you're just easing the cork out as opposed to popping it. That actually is not just for sound and saving the wine, it also keeps the bubbles intact. So you can just leave it uncorked in your fridge. Sometimes the next day, I've actually left it like that and I still have bubbles the next day without having to recork it. But if you do need...
I've just put like a standard regular, just pop a cork in.
That was going to be my
overnight,
next... Exactly. That's going to be my next tip, is that a standard wine cork, for those who save them, like me, but a standard wine cork will actually do the job as well. You just need to sort of push it a little bit farther or whatever, and just be prepared in your fridge that depending on how
It could pop out.
it could. So just make sure it's a good long one or something. It usually looks fine. Okay, so I thought just because I just got back from Nashville, I was going through my table topics that I had left here at home, and I found one box that I hadn't brought to the studio yet, and it's called Not Your Mama's Dinner Party. Told you I bought every box that they made. Table topics.
Cynthia's coming over. Bring your mama's table topics.
Not your favorites. So I thought this was perfect because then I can it'll lead into other stories. So have you ever drunk dialed somebody?
Drunk dial?
I feel like this box was made prior to. Does anyone actually make phone calls anymore?
No.
So have you ever drunk texted? Drunk messaged.
Honestly, no. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Okay, this is first. I am a controlled drunk.
Oh.
So I am. So in my day life, I'm a very busy mom. I'm a wedding and event planner. Everything has to be just so, and everything has to be planned. Everything has to be organized, and otherwise, it's just a complete mess. So that carries over kind of. That type A need control over situation carries over into my personal life and when I'm socializing and whatever else. So I am far more uninhibited sober than I am if I've had a few drinks. Because I immediately go to, I had a few drinks. I need to check what I'm doing because people get crazy when they're drunk and you can't get crazy because you're a responsible business owner who needs to be appropriate. And so when I drink, I get quiet. And so no, I'm very aware, and I don't like drunk Facebooking. I don't put the phone away. Don't drunk Facebook. I don't go to Nashville and document my experiences. No. But
and even post half the stuff that I do.
I'm hyper aware when I'm intoxicated, so I actually cannot claim to have. Maybe it's happened and I don't know about it because it was that bad. But no, I can't say I have.
Okay, that's a good explanation because I'm very similar. So it's very rare that I have those nights that I tip over the edge because, again, I'm always completely aware whether I'm in control or not. And as soon as I feel like, okay, I'm getting fuzzy-headed, things aren't right, I'm not in control of things, then it's how do I get back to my hotel room now?
Yeah, where's the water? Who's got my back? Who's my person? Who's my safe person?
Yeah, I need to control things. So I'll kind of whisper to Norm saying, Kate, are we ready to go? I need to have that control. And then it's funny because I can be fine. It's either as soon as the cab door closes, then my brain shuts off. If he's with me, or there's been other times where we've been traveling and we get back into the hotel, and from getting into the room until like the next morning is a blur.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know. Like I found my wallet in the bathroom. Like there's all kinds of. But I don't. Yeah. So my brain just shuts off, and I don't like that feeling. So I try not to do it. Right. Okay, so we'll do some closing stuff first, just before we finish off, and then if anyone ever has any questions about sparkling wine or anything that we had here, not where to get that demi-sec. I'm going to put a link for another demi-sec that I really like.
Chilean demi-secs.
The Veuve Clicquot one is spectacular, but it's not easy to find. And I've actually gone to 3 different wineries. There is I don't know if they still have some bottles left. For anyone who's down in the Toronto area, the LCBO by the St. Lawrence Market does have a great demi-sec champagne that I purchased for one of my private classes that I'm doing next week. So it's here, ready for the class. But unfortunately, I didn't pay for it, so I couldn't really open it tonight.
Will the bubbles last?
So I will post the link for that one because I know that one's going to be good. So you can have that one. Please don't. I'm not even going to post the link to the other one. Anyways, because
it was not. It was not. We have saved you
from
ever having to try that demi-sec.
Somebody's got to do it. So a couple things I want to touch base on. So all of my classes are online now for December, January, and February. So those are my public classes. Some of them are doing at Kitchen Bits again here in Sudbury. Some of them I'm doing at my office, the boardroom downstairs. Those ones are limited to, usually I kind of limit them to 10 people per class, only because I get 10 samples out of each wine. The sparkling wine class I have a little bit more flexibility because it takes more than, it's hard to get 10 samples out of one. Yeah, I have to open 2 bottles anyway, so I have a little bit more flexibility on those. But something new for January, I'm very excited, is I'm going to do online classes.
Oh, fun!
Yes. So for people anywhere, they can register. So it's going to be done Facebook Live to a secret group, though. You have to basically get the link to do it. So you're basically purchasing the link or the access to the Facebook group.
And then you send the links to the wines.
I'm going to be sending them, I'll be posting on the group, so you can print them off in PDF form. The shopping list for any appetizers you want to make ahead of time. If you decide you need to be economical and invite a couple friends to your house, and I'll spend the one link, because you can each have two, but I'm okay with, I want to share the love of wine education. So if you want to gather a couple of friends and purchase, okay, we're all going to get together on that night at my house, I'll pay it's $25, I think it's reasonable.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And then that's basically because I still have to buy the wines on my end.
You gotta cut the cost somehow.
Right? So yeah, so it'll be similar to the classes that I would have publicly, but the only thing is you're going to be seeing it through Facebook. So I'll still be talking about the wines. I'll have somebody there on the other side of the Facebook Live thing to feed any questions.
Yeah.
So if there's stuff coming in, we can actually be interactive as we're going along. Any of the recipes for the paired hors d'oeuvres that I would normally be serving in the classes, you'll get those ahead of time.
Awesome.
You can either make them for while the class is happening, or you can actually just save the recipes and make them some other time. And if you don't want to drink along with me that day because, I want to pay the thing, I want to learn about it, but I'm going to go and host it myself with my friends later, you can basically do the same thing.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing.
That's a great idea.
So it's a lot of fun. And I've done a couple Skype classes for private events already, and I thought, well, this is just another way that with Facebook Live, anyone can sign in.
That's super
So
cool.
you'll see the link and stuff on the website now. So those are up. Just look under wine classes, because when you go on my website, if you haven't been there yet, shame on you. But it's the very first on the homepage. You have 3 sections. It's really easy to find: food, wine, travel. So just go to the wine section and then go wine classes. I'm going to test it out with the wine classes for the first bit to see how it goes, and then I'm hoping that by the next fall or summer or fall, I'm going to start doing the cooking classes online as well.
Oh, cool.
So this way you can actually cook. So you can actually cook along with me as we're going along. So it'd be like watching a cooking show that you're cooking along with, but it's going to be interactive.
It's interactive. So
Yeah, so some people can actually. Yeah, so I think that
I
would
like
be. Yeah, so it'll be fun. So that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. But I thought it'd be easier to test with the wine classes first.
Yeah.
So that's coming up 2018. The cruise update. I did post. I didn't know this today. I was checking in with the travel agency who's hosting my Bordeaux cruise in France next year, and I was just checking, like, are there any specials, any updates, like what's happening? And they said no. They said no, there's no updates. We still have some cabins left. One of the things that I didn't realize is I didn't realize how much of a group discount we were getting. So I just assumed because they're doing this special promotion with me going, it would be closed. But their regular price for their Category 5 cabin, which would be the basic one, which would be down the lower level, it's about almost $6,400.
Whoa.
Coming with me and my group, where I'm your host and tour guide and taking you for the extra classes, is $48.
So you're getting more.
You're getting more for less.
For less.
Yeah. Did not know that.
That's
so
awesome.
if you're and I thought that you had to be with Ontario booking through Expedia, but because we're departing in France, they can arrange for flights from wherever you are. So if you happen to be listening to this in all my friends in Cape Town, all my South African friends, or in Australia, or if you happen to be overseas, I have some friends in London and Spain, you can also join in and meet me there. So it's a matter of arrange for your own flights. You can have the same travel agency help you arrange them for you if you need an agent to do so. Then you just kind of meet me there and come on the boat.
Basically need to get to France and then jump on the
They
boat.
just need to come, yeah. Exactly. So the information, everything is on the website. I'll have the link's on the bottom of every episode right now, right up until we leave. So just look for the thing at the bottom where it says want to travel with Steph, and then it'll take you right there, and you'll see all the links and the phone numbers and all that kind of stuff to get there. So
Sold.
yeah. So it's good, especially for people. I mean, it's not your everyday all-inclusive kind of thing. We're going to a resort. This is an all-inclusive package where, yes, you're traveling on a small river boat through the Bordeaux region, stopping at all these places where you're basically walking to castles.
Amazing.
And you can go and bike from one stop to the other, and all the wines and the food and the excursions and everything's included.
That's all included.
All included. And even coming to the farmer's market with me for the day, and going to impromptu classes, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Someone please lend me $10,000 because I would like to go.
She's going to start a GoFundMe page.
It sounds amazing. It's the Cynthia needs to go to Bordeaux GoFundMe page. We'll have that link in the show notes.
Whoever raises monk gets another gift certificate. I don't know. I know, all my travel agent friends would be like, "Don't say that out So next week is going to be my, I'm going to try doing my own Oprah version of gift ideas for Christmas. Yay! So not necessarily my favorite things, but things that anyone who has an interest in food, wine, and travel, or food, drinks, and travel, if you're looking for gift ideas for somebody else who also has those passions. I'm going to talk about kitchen tools, things that I liked, stores where you can find outsourced things. I'm going to have links for certain products that are new. I am going to talk a little bit about the Instant Pot, which is the new big thing.
A lot about the Instant Pot.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I'm gonna have, as much as I spend a lot of time in these kitchen stores, especially because that's where I host some of my public classes, I'm always rolling my eyes at this. Are you people buying all of these things? I'm an old school girl that I have like a cast iron pan, I have a couple of pots, I use a nonstick pan when I need it. I have a
I can't make a slow cooker work. I burn things. I'm not exaggerating. So I will do a little bit of a boast. I'm a pretty good cook. I can follow a recipe and whip some stuff. I never actually follow the recipe. It's a guideline. It's like an idea thing, and then I change it around all the time. And I cook with cast iron, and I cook in the oven, and but I cannot cook in a slow cooker to save my life. And I don't know why, but yeah, sure, please.
I was gonna say there's a class for that.
Yeah, I know, but I've tried it all, and I burnt. Who burns things in a slow cooker? This girl.
Yeah, that's called. Yeah. Oh, okay.
I'm very talented. I made rice pudding 2 weeks ago, and I've got a girlfriend who will hopefully listen to this after and will laugh because she remembers the story of me making rice pudding, and it came out like oatmeal because I left it on too long, and it congealed. And actually, the flavor was fantastic. It was like a very mapley, cinnamony, yummy. Porridge.
Slush.
What they call it in Scotland, potch.
Okie dokie. So anyway, so the gift idea episode next Saturday.
Don't buy me a slow cooker.
So that will be Saturday the 9th.
9th.
Right, yes. So that'll be the gift ideas.
Saturday.
Yeah, so that's going to be all about shopping for Christmas. I figure that's, you know what, for those of you who haven't done all your pre-Christmas shopping already, I haven't even started yet. I think I have a box. I have like 2 things of gift. I have nothing. Okay, so the last thing, of course, is thank you, of course, to Cynthia, of course, for coming out and drinking with me again, because it's a very hard job.
It's a rough life, but someone has to do it.
And then there's some of my friends who also were planning to come out tonight, and life got in the way, and it happens, and I get it. But I'm hoping to do these kind of episodes more often, especially in 2018. As topics are happening, I want to have more video stuff done, especially if there's demonstrations. I do want to get Lori back doing that, their safety stuff, which I thought was really cool. I'd like to bring Lori back and Lori Harris back to bring me to go to the pets and stuff and talk about the carriers and things for traveling with pets. Would be a lot of these. Yeah, it's gonna be so much fun. There's a lot of other episodes that I kind of want to revisit, and I have a huge list of topics ready for 2018. But I always think that either it's somebody that's an expert in the field that I can talk to, or that pertains to that topic, or actually want somebody who just wants to learn more about it, and
knows nothing and wants to figure it out.
And then we can kind of learn along with them, right? So that'll be good. So, anyways, thank you for watching today's Thank you for watching us drink today.
Thank you for coming to our girl night.
And we're gonna have more of these. I'm just trying to think of travel stuff. I'm always looking for tips on restaurants, bars, special travel spots I need to go to, not necessarily the touristy things that everyone needs to know about. I like to get some information that's new and up and coming. I was really excited that when I reached out online about Nashville locations, Nashville, Tennessee, Twitter handle actually got back to me and gave me a whole list. So I'm trying to think of where I'm going next. I'm not going there. Where am I going? I'm not going anywhere.
You've been so everywhere.
I know. So I'm going to be in Quebec actually for I'm going to be around Chelsea, Quebec, which is just north of Ottawa. I'm going to be there for 29th. Ottawa 28th, and 29th, 30th, and 31st. I'm doing New Year's Eve in a lodge in Quebec, which I thought would be so cute. Yeah. So it's going to be with some of my other wine drinking friends. And if they let me tape them, things can get interesting. I'm hoping that my brother doesn't live too far from there, so I'm hoping him and Lisa can make another appearance.
That'd be cool.
If you don't know what my brother and his wife are like, listen to the Prince Edward County bonus episode, because they were my drinking buddies from there, our Fab Four. I'm hoping my friends from Newmarket show up for that one, so we're trying to arrange it so it's sort of a fun, just going to hit record and see what happens kind of thing. But I am going to be in Portugal and Spain in January. So January 5th, I think, is when we're flying out. So I haven't been down the Algarves area for, it's been quite a few years. So I wanted to go back again. Primarily I wanted to go to, I'm going to be in the Huelva region of Spain, the wine region. So that would be on the border, the southwest border of Spain, like bordering Portugal. So I'm going to be there. It's a small old city. I got amazing deals. So we're going to be there for a weekend, and then we're going to head over to the east of Faro. We're in this little resort community on the water. So we're going to be there for about 5 days or something. I basically want it to be a park my butt. I got a sweet thing with a kitchen and everything else. I want to go to a local market, go pick up fresh seafood, go buy a bottle of wine, and basically sit on my deck and.
Yeah, that sounds like a terrible week.
Yeah. So anyone who knows anything about those areas, who is listening and has some recommendations of maybe an area restaurant to go to, a particular winery, because I really don't know a whole lot about the Huelva region, which I'm really looking forward to going. That's one of the regions I'm not familiar with. And there isn't much in the Spain and Portugal thing that we haven't tackled and then don't love, so I'm always interested in it. So that'll be January 5th. And then I've already booked, I'm trying to think what else is coming up. I know I'm going to be in the States quite a bit again next year too, so looking for destination suggestions as well.
Visit your friend Trump.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
Your spare time.
That's a whole other episode. I am going to do a whole episode in 2018. I want to talk to Canadians about whether they're still going to the States or they're holding off.
Oh,
because that's a really big. That's been a really big topic in the news right now. The tourism industry is hurting down there right now, and I want to know what they're afraid of and what's the hold up. So
that's fair.
We'll have one of those conversations at that time too. Anyways, thank you for listening, or thank you for watching. Hopefully you're drinking along. If you're not, plan your next sparkling wine party very soon, or you can join one of mine. So until then, have a great week. See you next week. Bye.
Cheers.